So I just started to share out my screen, which you should hopefully see. Now you can't see me, but I am sitting at my desk and will be dictating documents, controlling my computer just by using my voice, without using my mouse or keyboard. However, I can still use my mouse and keyboard if I wanted to alongside of Dragon. Now, another thing I wanted to point out here is that, in fact, one of the new features of Dragon 13 is that I can use an external microphone, which I am using right now, or I can even choose to use the built-in microphone on my laptop to do the dictation. I no longer actually need a headset. As you had mentioned earlier, there are 3 major benefits of using speech recognition that will help you serve your clients better and help you get more done in less time than before. You can talk faster than you can type. In fact, many people talk up to 3 times faster than typing. You can create documents without using a mouse or keyboard. You can be looking at reference materials or other documents while you're dictating. As you can see here, I have various documents, or you can't see it personally here, but I do have various documents spread all over my desk that I can refer to as I create these documents. So now I can create high-quality documents faster with fewer interruptions and distractions. And also, I can use Dragon with virtually any application, as you mentioned before, including Microsoft Office and popular email applications. I'll be using Outlook in my demonstration here, but I can cut my document creation time by as much as a third, better servicing my clients and creating more value for the firm. For this demonstration, I'm going to show you how you can easily create, easily dictate a deposition letter. You'll notice that the Dragon bar at the top of my screen here, I'll go ahead and minimize. You'll notice this Dragon bar at the top of my screen here, which is Dragon's heads-up display. Basically, this is where you can control Dragon, such as turning off the microphone or turning it on, or accessing various features. The Dragon bar automatically minimizes when I'm not using it, so it's never in my way. As you can see, it minimizes and shrinks. Now, I'm going to start off, as I mentioned before, dictating a deposition letter straight into Microsoft Word. Open Microsoft Word. Header, Stephen Jones, January 6, 2015, new paragraph. Anderson, Dear Stephen, new paragraph. Please prepare for the Anderson deposition by reviewing some Commerce Clause cases, particularly 289 Northwest 2nd, 416 Minnesota 1979, as well as preemption cases such as 764 Federal 2nd, 463 3rd Circuit 1999, period, new paragraph. Within that preemption context, consider home rule powers plus related policy issues, period. Also remember that when a federal statute does not directly overcome state law, a federal administrative agency may do so by regulation, reference 257 Northeast 2nd, 97, 1993, period, new paragraph. You may want to argue that the defendant municipality has exceeded its powers in an area of statewide concern, citing 137 Atlantic 2nd, 1030, 1977, period. Signature. And before you know it, I have my complete document ready to go, ready to ship off to either my client or to my secretary to proofread or to whomever. Right? I have something final and ready to go. Now, the other side that Amy mentioned here is not only the ability to work within your direct applications, such as Word, to create documents, but another side of this is emailing. We spend a lot of our time through the day emailing either with clients or updating your paralegals or your secretaries or whomever on whatever depositions or cases you're working on. So as a follow-up to this email, I can even let my boss know that I'm currently working on this. For example, I can say, send email to Paul Tucker. Anderson deposition. Cap that. Move to body. Hello, Paul, new paragraph. I'm currently working on the Anderson deposition, period. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, period. New paragraph. Correct, reject. Reach out. Go back. Send message. Minimize window. And as you can see, I can even take this a step further by controlling my applications that are on my screen, minimizing windows, closing applications, sending emails, all by using my voice. The other side of this, as Amy mentioned, is what happens in a scenario when you don't have access to your computer. How do you make sure that that time is still useful to you? That you can still create documents without being right in front of your screen. Well, I've actually taken the liberty of creating an audio file through my smartphone, and I emailed it to myself. In my case, I'm going to be doing the transcription from an audio file, where Dragon's going to listen to me dictating into my smartphone and actually transcribe the results. However, we could just as easily send this to a secretary or assistant or whomever to actually transcribe this for us using Dragon Naturally Speaking without the necessity of listening back to it and manually typing it out. So in Dragon's options, as I mentioned, the Dragon bar at the top of my screen here, I can choose to transcribe a recording. Now, I'm going to transcribe a recording into Microsoft Word, so I can just as easily issue a command to select all, delete that. In the meantime, it's going to ask me to browse to locate my file. Again, I just emailed myself this file and saved it to my desktop. It's about a client of mine, Sally Smith. I'm going to go ahead and open it. Before I do so, I do want to explain that we do support different audio files such as WAV, MP3, WMA, DSS, or DS2, which most common recorders are going to be able to create an audio file within that type of extension. In this case, I'm using an MP3 file. Now I can choose to transcribe. At this point, Dragon is going to start transcribing once I click into another application. Essentially, Dragon is going to put the text wherever you put the cursor. So in this case, Dragon is asking me, where should the text go? So once I click into the application, it's going to begin transcribing, and it's going to ask that I refrain from using my keyboard or mouse during the transcription as it's trying to type wherever the cursor is. If I move that cursor, it may put the text somewhere else. So at this point, it's transcribing at typically a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning every minute of audio takes about a minute to transcribe. Typically, with faster machines that we're seeing these days, we're seeing that ratio change from every minute of audio takes about 30 to 45 seconds to transcribe. So we're seeing that ratio change in a good way. So before you know it, I have most of my dictation completed and set up and ready to go, so I can edit it, proofread it, and even listen back to it with Dragon Naturally Speaking. I can highlight words and say play that back, and it'll either play back using my voice or the computer's voice. But essentially, we can use Dragon to add information to this, edit information, and remove information, all by using our voice. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to you, Amy.
Great, thanks, Tom. I'm going to actually have you stay on here for just a second. There were two questions that came in during your demo that I'm hoping you can help me address. The first one is when you were creating the citation, there's a question about how do you create the header that you had in the document.
Perfect. So that's actually something that you mentioned earlier, one of the boilerplate commands. They're also referred to as text and graphic commands, where if I already have an existing boilerplate text that I want to use, whether it's text or a header or a picture, any kind of text or graphic, I can do one of two things. I can either highlight that text and tell Dragon to make that a command. It's going to grab that text, bring up my command editor, and ask me to give it a command name. The command name is basically what I want to say. In this case, I called it header. So basically, when Dragon hears header, it's going to type whatever is in my content field. In this case, it was the text that I had previously highlighted. So in this case, the other side of this is I could just as easily copy this text. And of course, I'm using my mouse and keyboard for this, but I could just as easily do this by voice. I could say select last paragraph, copy that, and I could always go to my tools menu, add a new command, and you'll see that same command editor pop up on my screen where I can give it the command name, basically what I want to say to initialize that command before Dragon to write out whatever I have written in the content field here.
Perfect. And then there was one follow-up to that as well. The question was how much of that letter was created by the user, or how much of it was already handled by Dragon, specifically the macros. So when you said things like Federal Second 463, et cetera, how much of that was you dictating versus any macros that you had pre-created?
So the nice thing about the speed of Dragon is I can actually slow down that demonstration for you a little bit. So if I select all, delete that, I started off with mainly just macros, right, the text and graphic commands, where I said header, Stephen Jones, right? Header, Stephen Jones, that's automatic in there. That's something that I created, so I automatically insert that in there. That's not built in, but that is a feature that you can create your own command, as I just showed you. Now, when I start dictating the date and the Anderson, describing the Anderson deposition, I start getting into Dear colon new paragraph, Dear Stephen colon new paragraph. That's actually all done by my voice. I didn't have to do anything special for that. Same thing with the references in there and the citations. Like, for example, 289 Northwest 2nd, 416, Minnesota 1979, that's all built in. Dragon has those references and citations built in due to how, exactly you saying them out loud. I didn't have to do anything special about creating a specific command for that. I didn't have to say 764 Federal 2ND 463, 3RD, right? I didn't have to break it down that way. I simply say it how you would normally relay that information to someone else by voice. And Dragon automatically figures it out and enters it. And then last but not least, you may recall from my demonstration, I did follow it up with a command to insert my signature just by saying signature. And then that was actually something that I created. So the whole center part, the actual letter, the letter body portion of this was created just by dictation.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
No problem.